Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this South East Area Planning Committee meeting. And how lovely to have a full house tonight. Thank you all for turning out. I'm Vanessa Bell, and I'm the chairman of this committee. Members, we are streaming the meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you are giving your consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of the microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn your microphone on and then turn it off when finished. Please reference a page or paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. Finally, can I draw your attention to the notices on the agenda papers regarding the different levels within the chamber and advise that in the event of a fire, please use the fire exits marked with the green running man. I know we don't have any apologies for absence, Burner, so we can move on to item 3, the minutes. It's recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on 12th of January 2022, found on pages 7 to 10, are approved as a true and accurate record. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Helm. Can we agree that? Yeah. Any matters of accuracy anyone wishes to raise? Councillor Jewick.
Madam Chairman, it's only relevant in that it's mentioned in the minutes of that meeting, but 2 meetings ago we deferred a decision on Red Lions Farm at Latchington.
Ooh.
For further information. It still has not come back, and that's 3, if not 4 months ago. What on earth are they doing with it?
Can we minute that, please, Burner, and find out what's happening with that. Thank you for reminding us of that, Councillor Jewick. Must admit it had slipped my mind, Councillor.
Well, Madam Chairman, in light of Councillor Jewick's question and your request to minute it, do you think we could have an answer circulated around to all the committee? Because a number of us have wondered where that application's got to us. I think if an answer can be given and we're all made aware.
Yes. Super. Could we all have an answer to that, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm surprised Councillor Channing didn't mention it, but surely we must be in the realms of non-determination now as well. So you would have thought that we could have, well, over the 28 days or whatever, that's, unless the applicants agree to that, we could be in a difficult position. But I think Councillor Jewick's absolutely right. I mean, you know, this committee asked for it to come back in 4 weeks, and I guess that would have been 8 weeks ago, was it?
At least.
So that's very good. So, you know,
Well, we've missed one meeting.
Need information circulating, please. Thank you. So we're agreeing the minutes, are we not? By assent, that's super. Thank you very much. Item 4, declarations of interest to disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other pecuniary interests or non-pecuniary interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraphs 6 to 8 inclusive of the Code of Conduct for members. Any? Councillor Stan?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just that I'm a member of Essex County Council, which are normally consultees, non-pecuniary, and it doesn't look as though they have been on this application.
Thank you. Councillor Messenger?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Non-pecuniary, Michael Lewis was the architect who built my house.
Thank you. And I'll just remind, Councillor Skeens?
Yes, Michael Lewis.
I think many of us do. May I remind members that you are required to disclose any such interests as soon as they become I cannot speak. As soon as you become aware, should the need arise throughout the meeting. So that brings us to the main item of business, item 5, which is 00035 full Temperance House, 22 High Street, Burnham-On-Crouch. This agenda item is found on pages 11 to 18. There is no members update on this item tonight. We have one public participant, the applicant, Ms Thornton. So I'm going to hand over to you, Ms Sadler, please, to present the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. This application seeks full planning permission for the reinstatement of a rooftop belvedere to Temperance House to serve the second floor apartments. The application site is located on the northern side of the high street and is located within the centre of Burnham-On-Crouch town centre and the Burnham Conservation Area. The site is occupied by a 3-storey mixed-use building comprising of a cafe/restaurant to the ground floor and residential apartments on the first and the second floor. The application, this location plan, the site's outlined in red, and the block plan shows the position of the proposed belvedere on the roof of the building. So the application is a resubmission of a previously refused application. The submitted scheme has been reduced by size with a 0.6 metre reduction in the width, a 0.2 metre reduction to the eaves height and a 0.2 metre reduction in the overall height. The proposed materials have also been changed from park glazed, park grey finished zinc panels with anthracite coloured steel frames with standing steel grey zinc roof to clear double glazed in black metal frames for the walls and standing seam grey zinc roof. So the first plan is the proposed elevations of the current application. Shows they're the north and the west elevations. The next slide is the north and west elevations on the previously refused application. We have the proposed south and east elevations on the current proposed application and the south and east elevations on the previously refused scheme. This is the proposed rooftop elevation, so how it would sit on top of the roof of the current submitted application, and this is the rooftop elevations of the previously refused scheme. This is the existing and proposed roof plan of the current application. The existing and proposed roof plan of the previously refused application. So we do have some photographs. So this is a photo montage that was supplied by the agent Mike Lewis to give us an idea of what the Belvedere would look like within the street scene of Burnham-On-Crouch. And these are some site photographs taken recently. This view was from the clock tower within the high street. This was the view from the sea wall directly opposite the site. Had some photos from the War Memorial. This was outside the Star Inn public house. And these photos were taken outside Curtis O'Boyle Travel Agent and Estate Agents, which is just a number of buildings down from the application site. There are also some photos from the roof of the building. So this is what is in existence at the moment on the roof. Access from the stairs is taken from the apartment with a sliding roof to get access to the roof. These are some photos of the views from various points from the roof of Temperance House, from all directions, from the sea down towards the high street where the clock tower is, the opposite end of the high street, and where the neighbouring properties are in relation to this site. I also have some drawings that were supplied by Tim and by the agent of what the previous Belvedere looked like back in the around about the 19th century when the site was a hotel. So there's a small Belvedere to the roof, and Tim has mocked up and the agent have mocked up another view of what the proposed Belvedere may look like when it's in situ. They are not to scale and they're not architecturally correct, they're just an idea of what it might look like from the roadside. And that was the end of the photos.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for that. So, as I said, we do have a speaker. So, Miss Thornton, Mrs. Thornton, I could ask you, you have 2 minutes. So if we could have the clock wherever you feel comfortable, wherever there's a free mic, you can just pop your mic on, and when you're ready, we will go. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman and members. Good evening. My name is Dee Thornton. I am the applicant of this scheme, and my husband and I are both long-term residents in Burnham. We both run successful small businesses within the town, and Temperance House is our permanent home. This is a repeat application reduced in height and width as a response to the previous delegated refusal. Both the original scheme and this current application have been supported by Burnham Town Council as well as by Malden's own conservation officer. Councillor Bell has kindly called in the application due to what we see as an irrational recommendation to refuse once again. The grounds for the recommendations are based only on policy for which the subjective opinion of single officer stands. No black and white guidance is being challenged. If it were not within the conservation area, we believe that this application would pass straight through, and yet with the blessing of the conservation officer, it remains opposed. The rooftop extension is shown within the application documents to be invisible from all but the east elevation of the High Street, and from which the view carefully mimics the historic Belvedere, which stood in the exact same place on the rooftop. We have provided some helpful mock-ups of the Belvedere's appearance, which demonstrates an accurate representation of the reduced height and width, proposal and design, now fully glazed to reflect the original Belvedere design. I only ask that you view our proposals objectively and hope that you share the view of the Conservation Officer that the scheme is a sympathetic addition to the building and skyline and preserves the character of the conservation area, and recommend the proposals be approved. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you so much. Well within the time. Thank you, Ms Thornton. So, I don't know, Mr Taylor, do you have anything to add before we throw the floor open to members?
No, please. You're welcome to debate.
Thank you, members.
Chair, can I ask a question just for clarity, and then I'll happily give way to the ward members. If the officer could confirm, did Mr Howson support the original application? Because I think that's quite important to understand that.
Yes, he did.
Councillor Skeins, ward member.
Yes, could we go back to the picture of the 1900s conservatory? Now, that to me looks really elegant and beautiful, and the new version doesn't look so much. My feeling is that it would be really lovely if they stuck to that. And then everybody would be happy. It's a conservation area, clearly conserving, and that would make me happy.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Stan. Councillor Fluker.
Okay. Yeah, I've known this building for donkey's years, like most of us. I mean, I can remember going to a party on the roof without the parapet in the mid 1970s. There you go, when Chris Petrie owned the building. I mean, it's quite an interesting one. I mean, look, you've heard me before, talk to Tim Howson's knowledge and his advice to this planning committee. My only real concern about this is really the materials, and I just think that it is quite an elegant building, this, when you look at it on its own, and I just think sort of putting something up there that's got black fenestrations that are aluminium, I'm not sure that's the right thing to do. So if we were minded to approve this, and I do support this application, bar this one point, I would prefer to see the fenestrations in a white colour, preferably in timber. And I know people will say, well, look, okay, it's quite an exposed location, what's the maintenance going to be? But if you do it from a Koya, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with, it's got a lifespan of 50 years, would you believe? And it's used extensively now in the construction industry. And once it's painted and painted properly, it seems to last forever, and it can have its zinc roof. So, Chairman, I think with a caveat on conditions and the fact that maybe the applicant thought about using timber rather than aluminium fenestrations, I would say, Chairman, I'd propose that, contrary to the officer's recommendation, we actually approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I see a seconding hand from Councillor Helm. I'm going to go to Councillor Channer now.
Hand as well, so that's okay.
Seconding.
Well, my view is, having read it, unless there's a wider response that highlights some issues, the conservation officer, I noticed, had no objections. So bearing that in mind, and I pay great regard, Howson rather, and nothing against the officer's recommendation, but to me, had there been something from Mr. Howson sort of highlighting something, that might have altered my thinking. But if Mr. Howson feels there's no objection, that means across the whole application, that means I must assume the materials as well. So perhaps could I just ask, was there any caveats or indication in Mr. Howson's response saying, you know, something might be better done another way, but still carried no objections, or was it just a straight no objection, really?
So Mr. Howson said he had no objection to the approval and did not advise any specific conditions.
That's good enough for me, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Then Councillor Jewett.
Yeah, I actually think it's fine. I mean, many people have been for drinks when it was the Temperance bar and everything there. And many people actually wanted to put balustrade and railings up there so they could have a disco and a party. Well, no disco in them days. And to be honest, I looked at it and, excuse me, Councillor Fluker. We do know. So, Chairman, I actually agree with the proposal from Councillor Fluker and seconded, and I think it's going to look really super. It's not doing anybody any harm. I mean, I can point some horrors out in our conservation area if we want to, but I won't, and I think it should be supported, and I think it's really good that they're actually living and enjoying Burnham to its best and contributing to our fantastic town. So I think it's great. Thank you, Chairman.
And it's bringing something back that was there before. So, Councillor Jewett.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy to support this. The thing that I find strange, though, is that I do not understand why planning officers would object to something like this in the conservation area when the conservation officer has very clearly said that he is happy to support it and, in fact, supported the previous design. I mean, as far as materials go, as Councillor Fluker raised the point, I mean, surely we can do that under conditions if we're mindful to approve it. I mean, I'm quite, you know, I'm not going to get too fussed about it. I mean, it's up in the air there. Nobody's going to see what the materials are from a distance, so I'm quite happy either way. But if we did want to change materials, then surely conditions can do that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Fluker again.
Yeah, Chairman, I mean, you know, I don't want to make this a precursor of what's going to be given as planning permission, but, you know, I think we should, if we are mindful to approve this, we should put the standard condition in over materials just to make sure. But, Chairman, I don't want to tease the applicant and say that I might change my mind with my proposal, but bearing in mind where this is located, I know that in the body of the report, there's been no objections for anybody. But can the officer just confirm that the planning notice was affixed properly and it was advertised? Thank you.
Yes, I can answer that question. The site note, there were 2 site notices put up, and they were in perfect existence to where the property is. There was one, I think, at the end of Chapel Road, I think it might have been, and one just slightly along from the site itself. So it was clearly advertised for all to see. Okay.
Well, I note that the conservation area hasn't stipulated anything about materials. It's impossible to tell from those pictures what the original Belvedere was actually made from. I am sure that well, I know that the applicants care about the conservation area, and I know that they're committed to preserving and, you know, reinstating something that was. So we have a proposal which is to go against the officer's recommendation and to approve, but with a condition around materials, and that is seconded. Do you want to change that at all?
No, and just the normal conditions that we'd normally add.
Conditions
just so that we get it right. But I mean, Councillor Duke quite rightly just whispered in my ear, and I'll take his thunder, but it's quite likely that could have been cast iron and would have come from Burnham Foundry.
That's what I'm thinking.
But it's just trying to get something up there that's nice. We don't want an Everest double glazed
no, we don't.
greenhouse on the top of the roof.
Shaking their heads in horror.
Yeah, I sort of pick up on that. So, and I'm sure they're listening to what we're saying. You know, look, I think it's a great scheme, but it needs to look nice. And I don't know if anyone can remember the old Belvedere and the lawns at the other end, but I mean, that was a beautiful old house down there. They knocked down with the Belvedere. I remember it as a child. And yeah,
I'm going to stop before you get too deep into reminiscences there, Councillor Fluke. As I said to the officers, I love a Belvedere. I can see at least two from my office window in my house. Burnham loves a Belvedere. We even have an estate called Belvedere. So let's go to the vote, members. So those in favour of supporting this application, please raise your hands. And those against, that's one, Councillor Skeens. So with the majority and with the usual conditions, that application is approved.
Can I just confirm the conditions that we would be attaching the normal conditions in terms of time limit, materials in accordance
that was
with...
my proposal.
Yeah.
The standard conditions,
No, that's fine.
including.
Yeah, I'm just confirming that. Fine.
Super. Thank you, everybody. Now, item 6, any other items of business that the chairman decides are urgent? And there is. Members, I'm proposing that the South East Planning meetings return to Burnham. I'm hoping that's a seconding hand there. Members, can we vote, please?
Chairman, can I just say something? Is it at all possible, Chairman, that we could maybe revert back to Mondays, because it seemed to work? Did we used to have them on Monday? Mondays work quite well. If it works with the parish council, you know, it seems funny having a meeting on a Wednesday because it means my weekend starts a day early.
Well, can't be having that, Councillor Fluker. So, members, I propose.
For me, that doesn't actually work, Madam Chairman, I'm afraid, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but if I'm the only one, then I'm the only one. But no, I'm thinking about tennis coaching, actually.
Member, it does work for me as the chair, so I might pull chairman's privilege on that.
Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself then.
Feel.
In my memory, many years, I remember this always being on a Tuesday.
Well, it's not going to be on a Tuesday, Councillor Bill, because that's when we have our Burnham Town Council meetings. So,
So it's all. That's
one at a time, please. Councillor Fluker, then Councillor Stan.
Sorry, Chairman, you've been very kind to keep letting me come back. Do you know, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, there is a first, Councillor Channing. All right. Don't, because I've just remembered. Don't put me off.
Quick,
right.
Councillor Fluker.
What we're actually voting for is to take this to council, because council have got to make a decision. So, and I think if it goes to council with an endorsement from this committee, which looks as though it's going to be by majority, but it's going to be unanimous, then yeah, that's great. Happy by that.
Thank you. So that is, we've all agreed that, I think, haven't we? Agreed.
But Madam Chairman, can I ask? I presume the live streaming can occur at Burnham.
I don't see why not.
Okay, and the camera's
I
good.
can't see that being a problem to have a camera set up similar
Yep,
to this.
okay.
Councillor
No,
Chan.
I think-
can't see that being a problem at all. Which councillor is it? Councillor Boyce or Councillor Jewick? Councillor Boyce. I think you no. Councillor Jewick.
Madam Chairman, it was just to follow on from what Councillor Beale said. Yes, it did used to be on a Tuesday, but at times we had to wait for the town council to finish its business before we could
Don't
start.
want to be doing
planning.
that.
It went to a Monday.
Time, Councillor Jewick, if you wait for us to. Now, were you gearing up to something, Councillor Boyce, or are we good? No, we're good.
All
All I was going to do, Chairman, was to agree with Councillor Fluker that this will be a recommendation to council.
Yes.
That's all.
So that is the resolution then. Super. So members, thank you all so much for your contributions tonight. And I now draw the meeting to a close at 7:54 p.m.